What's up, Jeremiah?
Hey, Adam, how's it going, man?
It's pretty awesome.
Good.
How are you?
Yeah, doing well, man. Doing well. Did you have a good weekend?
Yes. So I love chocolate more than any other dessert in
Okay.
existence, and it's to the exclusion of anything else. I don't eat cake. I don't eat ice cream.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's only chocolate. So
That's good.
I ate an entire bag of Reese's eggs on Sunday.
Dang.
And I almost got sick from it, but I know my exact limit for how many I can eat before I become deathly ill
Yeah.
through much trial and error.
I feel you, man. Yeah, I've got kind of the same problem with cookies, unfortunately. That's my kryptonite, so I'm always kind of trying to fight that. Yeah, today I'm like not feeling great. I'm like, that's it. Time to make a change for a little while. Time to be healthy for a little bit.
That's cool. This is the Vision with Execution podcast show. Your host, me, Adam Torkildson, and my guest today is Jeremiah Smith, somebody I've known and worked with for maybe a decade at this point, maybe more. And Jeremiah graciously accepted the opportunity to come and be on the show. This is the first time we've actually done anything face-to-face. All of our interactions have been virtual, email sort of interactions. And so welcome to the show, Jeremiah. Thanks for being willing.
Yeah, pleasure to be here, man. Excited to talk to you. It's been a while since we actually set aside some time and talk like this, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've noticed about digital marketers. We're somewhat of an isolated group of people unless we're going to specific events, trade shows and whatnot. And I know, at least for me, when I was doing a lot of my freelance consulting era, it was just me at my house interacting with people.
Same.
Yeah. And I've noticed, so over the years, I've gone through addiction recovery and done some mental health work and things like that. And I do know that connecting with people is way easier when it's in person. But just connecting in general with people face to face digitally like this is also really helpful. And I think the world kind of picked up on that when everybody had to be indoors for COVID. So I don't know what your experience has been with just connecting with people or what your thoughts are on that, but I'd kind of like to get your thoughts on connection.
Yeah.
First of all.
Yeah, connection. Well, first of all, again, thank you so much for having me on. Excited to talk to you today.
Sure.
Yeah, and when it comes to connection, that's something that I think people are inherently starved for. I think that it is deeply, deeply wired in all of us to seek connection. I think it's so deeply wired in us, I wouldn't be surprised if it's part of the limbic system to a degree. I don't know. But that said, within the world of business, I think you're immediately removing a little bit. Like if you're not careful, business and kind of running a business or starting a company can remove some of the nuances within connection that make it feel real and make it feel engaging and like something everyone wants to do. That can be stripped out in a company, inadvertently or intentionally. Take it one step further, a remote company, it can be even harder for that, for the real connection to happen, because you don't have that opportunity for having somebody walk in the office that day and see that they seem a little more down than usual or something like that, and you can kind of have that little water cooler moment with them or grab lunch and check in with them, see how things are going and stuff like that. So in remote, it's even harder to establish that real deep rapport and connection with people. So I bring that up because being a remote agency ourselves, that's, first of all, we are a business. And so we've got that element of we can only connect so much. But then second of all, we're remote. And so we can even only connect so much with through that lens as well. So it's almost like two filters removing connection if we're not careful, And I keep saying not careful because I think there are things you can do intentionally to create connection. And it is something I'm constantly pursuing and I'm digging into as a remote environment CEO, how we can do that, So we've got, for example, several channels in Slack that are specifically not about work on purpose. And they're about the areas of life that people tend to talk about a lot, such as travel. We have like a travel channel. Since we're remote, everybody can travel all the time and work from anywhere in the world. I don't care where you are, and I like when people share photos of where they're at. There's an element of connection that happens with that where people are like, oh my gosh, Dustin's in, Thailand right now. Look at the food he's eating. That is so cool. It's like everyone suddenly is in Thailand with Dustin, the person they work with, and then they're asking him questions on calls and stuff and we're digging into it. When we have like a music channel on Slack where it's like people just randomly post, this is what I'm listening to while I'm working today, and you can suddenly pick up on the vibe that other people are listening to, it's pretty cool. It's like being in the office with them. We have our random channel where if you want to talk about anything, random, just throw it in there. People talking about sports, people talking about events in the world or family stuff and, whatever happens in there. So you can intentionally create connection. And I actually think that that's important. To wrap all of that up on the concept of connection, I think I already said kind of the challenges in the beginning. So a business filters out a certain degree of connection initially between people. And then second of all, remote does it as well. But you can intentionally create connection within your workspace. And what you'll get then, I think, is better than if you just had an in-person office and didn't intentionally try to create connection. Because I've been in offices with people where I'm wearing headphones sitting next to somebody in a cubicle, or across from somebody in a cubicle, which is even harder because you never get to know that person. And that, it was too hard to make connections in certain, instances there. It wasn't an intentional thing. It was never made into something that the company tried to foster necessarily. And I've seen some companies do better with that than others, team building exercises, things like that, fun days out, whatever. But in a remote environment, we have to actually make it intentional. And so I think the intentionality, people can see that and people appreciate that and people lean into it when they have the chance, So that's kind of our solution for that problem.
Yeah, that makes sense. How many full-time and part-timers do you guys have at SimpleTiger right now?
We have about 20 full-time and then probably in the realm of 6 to 8 part-timers. They're all contractors. We do everything intentionally for all the full-timers initially. Open invitation to the contractors with very low expectation because it's not necessarily something that we want them to feel pressured to show up for and things like that,
Sure.
Everybody's got their own desires when it comes to that. But when you're on our team, there's a certain vibe that everybody picks up on and they want to be involved in that kind of stuff. So we have pretty good turnout for that.
And how would you describe SimpleTiger, what you guys do right now? I think it's morphed a little bit over the years, but right now, 2025, what would you say you guys do and what you're best at?
Yeah. So in short, SimpleTiger is a digital marketing agency for SaaS companies. And we are overwhelmingly working with B2B SaaS companies. So that's one more step of kind of distinction. And then within the realm of digital marketing, we've been specialists in SEO for a couple of decades now and are also really good with PPC, running ads, and then building websites specifically on the Webflow platform at the moment, which gives us a really strong, a really good core strength around SEO, because if we can build the website, we can do so much to make it prepared for solid SEO strategy, as well as ongoing maintenance and things like that. And then running ads, we can augment anything in the organic realm with ads. And so we play in that space real aggressively as well. Got a lot more on this that's evolving at the moment I could talk to you about, but I'll let you keep asking.
Well, yeah, I'm going to ask you the big question, which you'll probably then be able to get into some of this other stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
The title of my show is Vision with Execution.
Yeah.
And that is something I took directly from something Thomas Edison said: vision without execution is hallucination.
Mhm.
And the background on my wall right behind me says vision with execution is reality. And so I've just been trying to talk to all the people I know and who I've worked with over the years that I think are good at creating visions of what they want to do and then going out and executing them. And you're somebody who I thought of that could probably speak to both of those things. And so that's why I wanted to have you on the show. And so I'm going to pose the first question to you. What is your vision for 2025?
Yeah, big question. So for 2025, it gets pretty specific, and I will cover that. My vision, I think it's good maybe to cover the broader vision first and then drill into 2025 because that'll help you see where I'm going with it, I think. My vision for SimpleTiger is to build a really high leverage boutique agency. What I mean by high leverage is I've worked in agencies with thousands of people. I've worked in institutions with thousands of people, and while it was amazing and awesome and cool to be part of a team like that and everything, I can't really call it a team because I only knew a tiny sliver of the people there. While it's cool to work in an organization like that, I felt so much in my heart was missing from it that I just wanted. A lot of it had to do with connection. A lot of it had to do with feeling like a big piece of something bigger, without feeling like a small piece of something gigantic. I didn't like the feeling of being a small piece of something gigantic. I'm already that here on Earth, or here in the United States, or here in Florida, or here in Sarasota, still a small piece of something gigantic. I don't want to be another small piece of something gigantic. I want to be a big piece of something somewhere. So I am that with my family, of course, but taking that out in my day-to-day life, I want to actually feel impact in what I'm doing, in everything I'm doing if I can. And so my vision for SimpleTiger is to build a boutique agency, meaning we're intentionally not going to scale to hundreds or thousands of people. We are intentionally going to stay constrained as a strength. I think that there are certain things where you could argue that the constraints create the strength. And for SimpleTiger, that's certainly part of my vision. That sets me apart from a lot of other agencies out there who have dreams that are amazing of building $100 million agencies with thousands of people and stuff. And that's amazing. I've watched that happen. I've got friends who are building those, and I'm constantly like blown away with what they do. I learn from them. I learn certain things that I should do. I don't learn everything that I should do because I don't want to become that. So that's kind of my broader vision for SimpleTiger, applying the 80-20 principle and hopefully being able to do with 20 people what another agency took 50 people to do. So that's kind of my plan. I don't know what the final numbers look like or anything like that because I'm not going to arbitrarily control the size with regards to employee headcount, but I am going to try to look at everything through the lens of leverage as much as possible and internal connectedness, internal happiness of each person to make sure that we are not outgrowing ourselves. And
when you say leverage, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, so I think the first inspiration that I got that blew me away about the concept of leverage in business that I was really attracted to was reading one of Jason Fried's first books from Basecamp, from 37 Signals. In the book, and at the moment it is escaping me, I can't remember if it was rework or if it was remote, or I can't remember which book it was. But in the book, regardless, he talked about having a very, very small team building software that's generating the kinds of revenue that very large teams of other companies are competing against, and staying small and staying nimble and being really creative and really entrepreneurial and trying to just engage very well. Now that was way back then. Okay, it was at least 2009, something like that I read that book, or 2010 maybe. that was extremely inspirational to me and made me realize at the same time, so put a pin in that. At the same time, I had read 4 Hour Work Week, as well as digging into Peter F. Drucker's work and studying the 80-20 principle in terms of application to business, and was really impressed by that. And so those two inspirations kind of coalesced very obviously for me into the idea of running a company that can do a lot with a small amount of brilliant people who have the right tools and the right attitude and know how to get it done. And so that was my inspiration for the vision of SimpleTiger, to be high leverage, meaning that we should be able to produce the results at 10x our size. We should be able to punch way above our weight.
Gotcha.
And I want to stay that way because I think a lot of agencies that I've seen over time move into a bit of a volume play. And I don't know how good the results are, but the net result is good for the agency. The net result is probably average for the clients. I don't want that. I want net result of incredible for the clients. I want world-class results. I want stuff that people are envious of in terms of what we're able to produce. And I want to do that as a small, like, record-setting team of just brilliant people. So that's my concept around leverage.
Awesome.
Yeah, all of that framing I think was necessary to kind of answer the next question, because now you're going to see the how that I envision us being able to leverage for making that happen for 2025 specifically. So as I'm sure you're aware, 2025 is kind of firing up to be the year of AI.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
You can feel it in everything. As soon as one new model drops, within 48 hours to 72 hours, there's another innovation that competes with that one. And then there's another innovation that competes with that one. And it's just, it almost feels like it's accelerating the rate of these new releases, which gets into a concept called the Javon paradox that I'm really interested in. That's a different rabbit trail. It gets pretty philosophical, but basically, I see 2025 being the year of AI and it continuing to advance at such a breakneck speed that any agency that is not leaning into it is going to be disrupted and is going to hit serious challenges in a very short period of time, like within a 12-month time frame.
Oh, wow.
And when I say serious challenges, I don't mean existential crisis. Maybe for that company if they don't innovate, but the challenges are literally constraining margins. You know, every agency, every business leverages margins, or that's actually what the concept of leverage is. There's a margin above that you are lifting from below, and so the concept of margins in business are so critical because that's how the business can exist, unless it's a nonprofit, that AI is directly threatening those margins at the moment. It's threatening those margins for companies that aren't adapting to it. If we were doing a SWOT analysis, I would say, yeah, that's the threat. The opportunity on the other side of it is those tools are here for us. They're not out of our reach. They're not being, being created by a competitor and blocked off from our access or anything like that. They're being rolled out and handed directly to us for as cheap as we can possibly get them. And they're competing for our business aggressively. so we should be using them. That's kind of the first obvious thing. But I think we're going to have to use them, and a strange paradox is going to occur. This gets to the Javon paradox to a degree, but by using them, we are inevitably going to shrink margins. So, for example, let's talk about content. If we're leveraging AI to help us produce content, and we are able to produce the same quality of content we could produce in the past, but faster and at a higher volume now, and that is the content that's required to compete, then we are going to shrink margins by way of doing that, meaning that the commodity of content is going to cost less.
It's a lot like what happened in TVs. You kept getting flat screen TVs. Everybody was making one, and then they just started to get really cheap, and they all had basically the same features.
Right. And that is aligned more so with Moore's law, which is the
technology specifically.
Yes, specifically, which has an exponential growth rate.
Hmm.
But what I think a lot of people don't realize about the growth of AI is that it doesn't have an exponential growth rate. It has a logarithmic growth rate, which operates at a much more aggressive curve than
Yeah, the
exponential.
hockey stick. Yep.
Yes. And that is the thing that I think a lot of people are looking at and thinking it'll just be like any other exponential thing, and we'll move along that steady diagonal path with it. That's the most fatal flaw I think any agency owner could be making right now, any marketing agency owner, anybody in content, anybody in tech. If they're looking at it and expecting an exponential result, in a few months they'll quickly realize that their assumptions were way off. The Javon paradox, the concept behind it was basically, as we were mining coal by hand, we were able to take that coal and use it and burn it as a resource, and that's why we were mining it to begin with. But because of the productivity it yielded to us, because of the energy stored in coal, we were able to manufacture large machinery that could actually mine the coal. And so then the coal mining machine could feed itself enough for us to produce more machines to mine coal. And that created a logarithmic growth scale in terms of the mining of coal, because the machine itself that was doing the mining was feeding off of what it was mining. And so that's what AI is going to do. It's going to chase down things in a logarithmic fashion where we can't keep up as mere mortals.
That's cool. I love that analogy.
Yeah. So that analogy helps you see really quickly how a small, scrappy marketing agency can suddenly be nimble and adapt to and work with and leverage these tools to create leverage and to force those margins down on one hand, but also be able to live within those margins on the other hand and produce the same level of content or better content faster for cheaper, which I think is actually going to happen. You're going to have a 3-category growth, which, you have the iron triangle of quality, speed, and price. Pick 2. That's how every business kind of operates. You can do 2 of those really well. You can't do all 3 of them really well. It's very difficult to do all 3. That you would have a monopoly if you did all 3. So the AI kind of Javon paradox breaks that iron triangle because it actually allows everyone to have all 3 if they apply it properly. You can have something really good, really fast, really cheap. It's like, what are you going to do? You've got to embrace this, because no matter which one of those 2 your company leans into, somebody else is going to be able to compete with you. So that's what I think is going to happen in 2025. My vision is my entire team, my small team, who have big hearts and big skills and big minds and aspirations, and happy families. They're going to lean into this tool set. They're going to lean into this evolving world, and we're going to be innovating and adapting and applying these tools as fast as we can. And hopefully it'll be a moment for us to outfox the largest competitors in the space, who probably don't have the agility, anymore, because they're top heavy. And I think it will democratize a lot of things that, quite frankly, have been a little bit relegated to specialists for a long time. It's going to democratize that. We're going to have whole new businesses start of brilliant minds that have just been waiting in the shadows for something good to come their way to give them leverage. They're going to be able to implement this kind of stuff and come out of nowhere. We're going to have dark horses running amok. It's going to be an exciting, scary, fun time, an adventure.
So Jeremiah, couple words that you've mentioned several times now. I'm going to zone in on one of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's the word family.
Mm-hmm.
And as somebody who's started several of my own businesses and just kind of been doing things seemingly on my own, although I realize more and more that that's never actually the case. No man is an island, as they say. I've been married 20 years this year to the same woman. I've got a 18-year-old son who's getting ready to go on his 2-year service mission for our church.
Oh, congrats, man. That's
Thank you. And family is incredibly important to me. That's why I do what I do. That's the incentive for me is If I can provide for my family and have time to spend with them doing fun things, then I'll do whatever it takes to make that happen.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
So if I don't know why this is, but so far every single person I've had on my show so far feels very deeply also about providing for their families and how important families are, not only to ourselves but also in the fabric of our society and our economy. The family unit is the strongest unit
Mhm.
in the world.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to spend a few minutes talking about your thoughts on family, if that's something that you feel strongly about, I'd love to hear those.
Yeah, I'm really happy you brought that up. I'm happy you detected that I hit on that a few times because it is extremely important to me. And I do have some interesting, I don't know if I call it news, but like just an interesting moment SimpleTiger is having right now that means a lot to me. So I'll talk about the moment in a moment. But yeah, family is extremely important to me. It's actually why I created a huge reason why I created a remote agency and a results only work environment. That's another thing about us is that we focus on results above all else. We don't have busy work. We don't have pushing things around. And I'm pretty aggressive about hunting down busy work and getting it cut out and getting it offloaded from people where I see it exists. I don't believe in anything like busy work. I think it's healthy to stay busy, but I don't think it's healthy to arbitrarily be busy. Um, and I kind of got that concept from Tim Ferriss, and it hit me really well when he said it because I believe that to be true, that it's actually a form of laziness to always be busy. It's not creative. You're not thinking if you're just staying busy. So I want a team of thinkers. I don't want a team of, just people swabbing the deck. That was an old term that I learned about staying busy. Um, That said, I designed SimpleTiger as a results only work environment, meaning that when people show up here, they're taking critical time away from their family, and from their friends and from their own lives, from their own personal time, which is just as important to your family, by the way. Anyone listening, if you're not taking some personal time to yourself to go be by yourself, to think by yourself and read and do whatever it is you like to do by yourself a little bit, you're not investing in your health in a way where you can come back and show up 100% for your family. Because
Very true.
because when I'm with my family, I don't want to be all on the couch on our phones.
Yep.
I want to be talking,
Present. Yeah.
joking, tickling, playing, laughing, telling stories, teaching, engaging, asking questions, goofing off. That's what I want to do with my family. And it's a blast. I love it so much. It's my favorite part of the day. And it's getting harder and harder to have those moments now. I've also got a 17-year-old son, 13-year-old daughter, and they've got their interests, and that's normal. I did at that age, both of those ages too. And so it's few and far between where all four of us can get together in one room and hang out without our phones and all that. So it's even more special now. All that said, a results only work environment, we set it up so that when you take that time away from your family or from yourself, that you are absolutely focused on what matters, getting it done, which actually I think is deep in everyone. There's a certain anxiety that happens when we don't feel productive. So everyone feels productive when they show up here at SimpleTiger because we're focused literally on just producing results. And when the result is produced, I don't care how long it took. I don't care where you did it. I don't care when you did it. If you did it at midnight or if you did it at 8 a.m., doesn't matter to me. So we hit those results, and then everyone is free to go back to their family. If they're working 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week, whatever it takes. And sometimes it takes 50, 60 hours a week. You can ask folks on my team who have had moments where to produce a result, they had to really go in a cave and buckle down. And we see that, we monitor that, and we reward that when people have to buckle down because they're taking extra time away from their family. So the structure of our company was built for that reason. Now, the moment that we're in as a company right now that I think you're going to appreciate is extremely rewarding to me. And I got emotional on a all hands call recently because we were going through a bunch of different things. And then I hit on how right now I think we have 4 or 5 employees here at SimpleTiger who, out of 20, who at the same time were pregnant. Their
Wow.
families were pregnant. And so we had all of these maternity and paternity leaves set up and everything,
Yeah.
which I think a lot of, CEOs, a lot of company owners and stuff like that would start pulling their hair out. How we're going to make this happen, how we're going to have this work and everything. And my team were kind of giving myself and my partner, who's my brother, they were giving us a lot of appreciation for our maternity paternity leave situation. Now we have it set up. It's I don't think it's the best in the world, actually. I think it's good, but I don't think it's the best. It could be better, and I hope in time to make it better. But everyone was bragging about how great it was, and they appreciated it, and they appreciated us for giving it to them. I had to stop that, and I got emotional about this because it's really not me and my brother. It's not our company that's giving them that. Everybody else, when one of our salespeople goes on maternity leave, for example, the other one takes on more leads and works really hard to cover for them. When one of our SEO strategists goes on leave, the other SEO strategist works really, really hard to cover for them. Account manager goes on leave, other account managers pick up client conversations and get on calls and cover for them. And I got really emotional because I wanted to remind them it's actually all of you guys that are doing it. You guys, your families are looking out for each other. And it's incredible to be a part of that and to have built a company full of people who think like that intuitively. I didn't set that up. I didn't structure it. I just said, make sure somebody can cover your work, talk with your team and all that. And everyone does it without any complaint, happily. And so everyone here has their back. And so because of that, I know you hear it thrown around all the time that my company is a family and stuff like that. And it's kind of a cliche term. But I just had that moment where I kind of felt like, oh my gosh, I built a family here. It's crazy. And I didn't build it. I just created a space for them to build it. But the key thing that I thought has some kind of beauty in it at probably a big spiritual level is I think a company that is full of people who are all having babies and growing their families is a sign of a happy, healthy, functioning business. And it made me feel just elated, because the numbers sometimes aren't what I want them to be, right? The client feedback is sometimes not what I want it to be, but when I see that my team is flourishing and they're engaged in their work and they're growing their families and they're happy and they're connected with each other, I'm like, this is what it's all about. This is what I wanted to build, and I couldn't have done it. I didn't do it myself. I literally didn't. I think it's a mix of God working through everyone and everyone allowing it, and building a business together. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, that's about all the time I've got here, mainly because I know you're a busy guy. This is probably the most amount of time I'm going to spend doing anything today. I've got a great team of people too, and that's what's made it all possible for me to have the lifestyle I've got and why I can do the show. And it's all about who you know and how they fit into working together. And one of my favorite books is called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan.
Love that book.
I read it for the first time last year, and it's just, I think about it almost on a daily basis.
Same.
So family and friends and relationships and connections, all those things play a huge part in helping us be our best selves and lifting, a rising tide lifts all ships, as they say.
Yeah.
I love that principle. So thank you so much for spending some time with me. And I got a little bit emotional on the call because I can't talk about my family without feeling so strongly that they're the reason why I do what I do. And I'm so grateful that there are other men out there like you who give the credit to God and talk about that openly and just stand up for what they believe. So God bless you, and I really appreciate the time we got to spend today. So that's it. This has been the Vision with Execution show with Jeremiah Smith from SimpleTiger. Thank you so much, Jeremiah.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. My pleasure's mine. I appreciate you too. God bless you as well. Thank you.